Yo, what's good? What's good, everybody? How you guys doing? This is your boy, Coach Dante, the host of the Coffee and Sports in the Morning. Man, we got a nice little panel right here, man. I love it. Love this right here, man. It's a hell of a panel. We got my boy Mo Better. We got my boy Brett, who was on here yesterday. My boy Jay was up on here yesterday, this morning, and my guy Chris, man. Mo, how you doing? How you feeling this morning, man?
Doing well, fellas, on a Taco Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We talking about your boy, Big Vic. Big Vic. There we go. How you doing, Brett? How you doing this morning, bro?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm ready to talk sports.
Yeah, you what's good, Jay? How you doing this morning, man?
Hey man, I'm feeling great, feeling good.
Feeling good. Giving us a rap this morning. There we go.
You know, baby.
Mr. Chris, how you doing today, Mr. Chris?
Morning, gentlemen. Happy to be here.
Yes, man. We got some good topics this morning. We gonna talk about Mo boy, Big Vic. But Mo gonna also at the end of the show, we already know how we gonna end. He gonna give us the resume and talk about the great Sugar Shane Mosley this morning. Y'all don't want to miss that. And since you noticed, Jay, about since you said we wasn't talking about boxing, but if you want to give me a boxer, that you that's kind of underrated. You could at the end of the show, but Mo will tell us about the great Mosley. Go ahead, Mo.
Coach, I actually wasn't going to do the segment today because I had left my notes and my stuff in the truck. And
all right, we'll wait till in the morning. But Jay, if you want to get one off, you could. But let me start off. Jay puts something in the chat. It's something that I always been talking about. This kid from the Big 12. He played at Baylor. Y'all haven't watched the kid play. This dude is going to be something special. Keontae George is going to be something special, man. Y'all haven't watched this dude play at point guard. And, over there in Utah, that dude is a bad, bad guy, bro. 59 points in 2 summer league games, 11 assists. That dude is lighting up on fire. So if y'all have a chance to watch Utah Summer League, y'all take a look at that dude. That dude is a bad dude, man. Keontae George is something special. So we're going to talk about Mo guy, Big Vic, man. We already know that's Mo. Mo gave him the nickname, so hey, I'm carrying it on. I know I'm gonna give out the nicknames, but Mo, Big Vic, hey, let's do it. The Spurs are shutting down Big Vic, Mo, until the regular season. What you think about this? Good move for the Spurs, or he should have played at least one more game?
No, I think it's a good move for the Spurs and a good move for him. What we saw in the 2 games he played, I think you're gonna see pretty much throughout the season until he actually gets his legs under him. He's going to have some games where he pops and he'll give you a 20-point, 15 rebounds, 8 block night. And he's going to have a couple of games here and there where he might be in single digits, might struggle from the field. I think ultimately, though, he's going to have a big impact on the Spurs and the NBA over time. But he's got to go through the growing pains. What he does right now in Summer League, it's kind of like it's for the fans. It's for us. We wanted to see him. we see what he did in the G League Ignite versus those kind of guys, but we wanted to see him against some type of NBA competition. So if I'm the Spurs, I think we've got enough look of him. I think we have an idea of what he's going to be. What we don't want to do is risk any kind of weird injury. So if I'm the Spurs, it's a smart move for them.
So we talked about some concerns that in the summer league that we think he showed flaws that he has right now that will be most likely exploited in the NBA. So Mo, from the flaws you've seen about him, what are his flaws right now, and what he need to work on going into the NBA when he's playing against better talent? Give me some flaws that you've seen for Big Vic.
Well, obviously, the one that stands out right away is he doesn't really handle physical contact well, and that's because he might weigh. He looks like he weighs $150. I'm sure he weighs more than that, but he looks like he weighs about $150. So you can bump him, you can move him around, you can reroute him when he's trying to cut through the lane. But that will come with time. And I think he's also eventually got to find where he's going to operate most out of in the NBA. He doesn't really want to play in the post. He seems more comfortable on the perimeter, but I just don't know how that's going to work depending on the matchups. But so the biggest flaw to me right now, and another thing is he's got to adjust to the speed of the game. There are times where his mind is working right, but his body isn't in conjunction with his mind. So he's got to adjust to the speed of the game. And I think he will over time. I've seen him get beat off the dribble multiple times, but just on his length, coach, he recovers and blocks the shot. So imagine once he learns how to play angles and sets himself up for success, he'll be that much better. But other than that, I think the sky's the limit for Big Vic.
All right, Brett.
Yeah, I think it's the right move. You don't want, like you said, some bad injury happening. Like you don't want a Chet Holmgren injury happening in games that are they're good for development, but at the end of the day also kind of meaningless outside of giving Big Vic some extra experience. But I really like the move. I really like what I saw from him. I love his mobility. He's going to be a phenomenal help side rim protector. And you're looking at a guy like Mo just said, who's, even if he gets blown by his length, he's still going to be able to make some nice recoveries, block some shots. So his potential is through the roof on defense. Offensively, his decision-making can get him into trouble sometimes. We saw it in the first game where he was just kind of dribbling right into the help defense and getting himself into some sticky situations. But overall, I definitely I like the choice of, sitting him until the regular season. We saw what we needed to see from him, and I cannot wait to see what he does going forward.
Yeah, hey Mo, we already got Brett calling him Big Vic. There we go. That's his nickname. There we go. Good job. What's good, E? What's good, my guy? E. Jay, give me, is this a good move by the Spurs? Is this a good move by the Spurs shutting Big Vic down?
No, I don't think it is. I think that for the reasons that Mo named as flaws, I think you got to at least get him in another game or two. You may not need to play in the whole summer league and a bunch of minutes, but he still needs to get a little bit more better feel to the game to me, just to be able to work some of those kinks out. I know he had a great game. Game 2, his confidence is high, but when he gets into the league, it's not going to be rookies and second-year players, man. He's going to be going against vets, and he's going to be banging. So I just feel like you still could have got a little bit more out of him, even if he's not putting up like crazy numbers. I'm not looking for him to give me 40 or 30. Just keep him in there, just to give him a feel, get him bang, get some extra touches, some extra reps, bang with those other guys, man. Just get some more reps in that nature. Just get a better feel for the game, spacing, and all that other stuff. So I think he could at least win another game or two. I would have liked to seen him play a little bit more, but I understand the injury concerns. But hey, you got him for a while, man.
Got you. Chris, is this a good move by the Spurs?
Y'all remember the last time someone said, "Man, I wish I got one more summer league game in"? You don't, because no one says that. Summer league is an expedition for the fans. That's all it is. Mo, like you said, People come out to Vegas because they want to see the top draft picks. They want to see them on the floor for the first time. They want to be a part of that experience. That's all it is for those guys. What's the easiest way in the summer league to get on Sports Center? Do something crazy to Wemby, right? You make him look foolish. You put him in an awkward spot. You do something up against him. You are on Sports Center for sure because you just did something to the number 1 draft pick. That's not what we need. That's not what the Spurs need. The Spurs don't need people coming at their guy. 1 extra game, 2 extra games. He plays the whole summer league. In the big picture, it doesn't matter. You need to protect his health. You should put him on the floor. He was nervous the first game. He didn't play that well, obviously. He did his thing in the second game. He is going to be 2 or 3 years to develop easily on the offensive side of the ball. That's what most great players in the NBA are, and he isn't really going to be an exception to that rule. It takes time to adjust. The great thing about him, though, is because of his length and his skill on the defensive side of the ball, even on nights like Mo said, when he's not doing it offensively and he's having maybe a little bit of a underwhelming offensive night, he's still going to impact the defensive side. That side of his game is going to be an impact all season long in his rookie campaign while he figures out the offensive side. So, of course, it's a good move to sit them. You gave the fans what they wanted. The ticket prices were sold out for his first 2 games. He was nervous game 1. He did his thing game 2. Now, get the kid training. He needs to put on about 10 or 15 pounds. Like Mo said, he's a little skinny. But, he's with probably the best organization for someone of his skill set and his size. The Spurs are known for handling bigs and getting the most out of their bigs. So he is set up really, really well. And there was just no need to play him an extra 2 or 3 games. The benefit just wasn't going to be there.
All right, got y'all. So, let's see. E said, shout out to you, E, man. You always show love to me, so why not? Oh yeah, they also got a good quarterback over there. North Shore got a great quarterback and a great DB that's going D1 high school. So that's one of the better. That's probably one of the top school in Houston. So we got 2 good signings yesterday, fellas. 2 solid signings. We got Isaiah Stewart getting a 4-year deal, $64 million deal from Detroit. Played well versus Detroit. He played well with Detroit. He's a big time center. He's a glass cleaner. I think Mo kind of know this guy pretty well. He got into that fight with LeBron James.
Yeah.
He got into that fight with LeBron James. Then we got Paul Reed. The Sixers are matching Paul Reed. So he won't be going to the Utah Jazz. He will be the backup behind Joel Embiid, which is, I thought that's a great move. He did play well for the Sixers when needed it. So Chris, I'm gonna start with you at the bottom. What you think about the 2 signings from the Pistons and the Sixers?
Business as usual. Nothing earth-shattering or groundbreaking. Solid moves, which is what you're going to see right now. You're not going to, with the exception of the 2 big guys who are waiting to see what ends up happening with them. Those are the only real big moves left, unless something unexpected happens. But right now, what you're going to see is just solid roster-filling moves, and that's what these are.
Gotcha. Jay?
Hey, man, I agree with Chris, man. Not much to be said, man. Just solid moves, and this is what you're going to see right now.
Brett?
I really like the Isaiah Stewart extension. I really like him as a player. I like his ability to protect the rim. Not to mention he's showing flashes of becoming a stretch 5, 32% 3-point shooter from the center position. So if he can keep improving that could be a very phenomenal signing for them, and that might be a deal where a contender might give up a first or 2 for him or a bunch of seconds. So I like that. Same with Paul Reed. Really solid backup. I love that for Philly.
Mo, go ahead.
I like Isaiah Stewart a lot. The kid is fiery. Like you said, Coach, a glass cleaner, effective rim protection. He gives them toughness. More importantly, he's a young player on a team that probably right next to your Rockets is one of the youngest teams in the NBA. He gives them stability. He is a double-double guy. They're still a team on the come up. It's not going to shift anything in terms of what happens in the league overall. But if you're a Pistons fan, this is a good move. This is about stability. So I like that move. Paul Reed with the Sixers, that's just about added depth. Paul Reed played really well for them, And right now, the Sixers can't afford to lose any good players.
What's good, brother Freddie? What's good, brother Freddie? Philadelphia finally did something, Freddie. They finally got their players back, man. They didn't think they were gonna match that deal, but hey, they went on and stepped up and matched it for them.
Morning, Freddie.
What's good, Freddie? How you doing, man? Jury, what's good?
Freddie, what up? Jury, what up?
What's good, Fred? What's good, big dog? So here we go. Home run derby recap last night. I did pick Vladdy Guerrero to win the home run derby, and he did. But he got tired doing it, though. So it don't look like he in a best of shape a little bit. All them swingings and stuff like that, though. But he was swinging the heck out that bat as hard as he could. But I just want to ask one question: is the home run derby back to you, Mo? Is it back to you? And what's your thoughts about it last night?
It is for me. I enjoyed it, and look, it's no secret that baseball's not my number one jam.
Yep.
It's not my lane. But I love postseason baseball. When we get to this time of the year, and you're talking about the All-Star weekend and all that, I love the home run derby. And last night, it was a blast, man. I mean, what Rodriguez did, he goes 35, gets the extra time, and goes finish with 41. And he was, you know what? I knew he wasn't going to win because he was smoked. He was smoked right after that. Like, he was done. It felt like watching it, there was a buzz in the air the whole night, but guys were so worn down, it became like a battle of attrition, like a triathlon or something like that. But I got caught up in it. I'm not going to lie. I got caught up with it. Like, I felt like I was like right there. That's how exciting and entertaining it was for me. So I don't want to go over the top, but just as a casual fan, I loved it.
Brett, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with Mo. Baseball isn't my number one sport, but I always do enjoy watching the home run derby. It's one of my favorite parts of the season about baseball outside of postseason baseball. So it's always an absolute treat to watch, and congratulations to Vlad Guerrero on winning it.
Becoming a stretch five.
Go ahead. My bad.
Hey, I enjoyed it. I loved it, man. It started off with Adley Rutschman switch hitting on both sides of the plate, man. He did his thing, man. For me, that's something you never see in a home run derby. A batter going on both sides and successfully hitting them out the park. So I picked Julio Rodriguez, man. He started off so hot, man. I was amped. I ain't even gonna lie to you, man. 41 home runs in the first round. But like Mo said, man, I worried because I said, damn, man, that's a lot of swinging. He swung at I believe every pitch except for one. Vladdy beat him out, and I thought Randy, I can't never say his name right. Rosa Rain, I thought he was going to actually win it because he had I think he had 30 seconds and he had four home runs to get. I thought he was going to get it, and he came up too short, man. So it still gave you the suspense and the drama that you needed for the home run derby. So I enjoyed it, man. Love it. Shout out to Vlad, man.
Hey, man, that dude Randy Rosarena was going out with a bang for the last 30 seconds. He swung at every pitch. Every pitch as hard as he could.
He overswung. He was overswinging. Yeah. He was pressing it.
He was pressing it hard too. He was pressing it hard.
I love that.
Pressing it though. Yeah, he was stepping on the gas on that one. He was stepping on that gas on that one. Go ahead, Chris.
Baseball gets knocked a lot when you compare it to the NFL or the NBA. And, they get knocked for things they deserve to get knocked for, right? The whole living in their history, and it's so statistical, and, it's an old timers game. But then baseball has these moments like last night where it's hard not to walk away smiling, right? Because you don't get to see baseball players in this environment as much as I think we should. And it was very much just, they looked like grown kids who literally just love the game of baseball, who are hanging out with their friends, who can hit the ball the farthest, who can hit the most jacks over the wall. Like, that's what you did when you were 10, 11, 12 years old. That's what you dreamed of if you played baseball growing up. You wanted to put the ball over the wall You wanted to do it as much as you could, right? And you wanted all your friends to hype you up when you did it. Like, that's literally what last night was. And you just felt the vibe with everyone who was there. It was entertaining. There were storylines. Alonzo was going for his third, trying to tie Griffey. That didn't happen. I think Mookie Betts was probably the biggest disappointment of the evening. I know that Mookie isn't a huge home run guy, but again, like, if you're going to be there, you got to put him out, and he kind of struggled a little bit. It's cool that, Vlad, father-son duo to win the Derby. That's a cool storyline. Personally, I'm not a Vladdy guy as a Yankee fan. I think that kind of goes without saying. It was cool to see what Adley did from both sides of the plate. And it was cool to see the hometown crowd get behind their guy. I think he's 22, 23. But to see that kid put on the show that he did, and the crowd just take him and lift him up to get him to where they wanted him to go. Obviously, he didn't get there, but the vibe of the whole night was just cool. I think hats off to MLB. Hopefully, the All-Star game itself has a similar vibe, but baseball needs to have more of these moments. It's tough because it's such a long season. The playoffs is really where it's at for Major League Baseball, but it's cool to have these little moments where you're like, man, that was fun.
Coach, let me just piggyback on what Chris said.
Go ahead.
Chris is so spot on. What you saw last night, the vibe and everything, baseball's got to find a way to capture that and manipulate that and use that throughout the regular season. They do not highlight or promote their best the way the NBA does, the way the NFL does. They just don't. And for someone like me, who's more of a casual baseball fan, like Chris said, I'm really only engaged in postseason baseball because I love it. But there's a way you can bring in the casual fan. They just have to put the work and the effort in, because last night that should be more like the rules instead of the exception. It really should.
To piggyback off both you guys, or especially you, Mo, as you talked about trying to, baseball as marketing. I agree with you. And baseball has been excited, to be honest with you, for the first part of the season. We had a perfect game. Ellie De La Cruz is one of the most electrifying players right now in baseball, point blank, period. Shohei Ohtani, right? One of the best guys in the game. And I don't know if baseball can find ways to flex, some of these games and get some of these guys on TV so we can see them more. But they got to do something, like y'all said, to get them on, because, to be honest with you, and there might be some kickback, but I kind of feel like Ellie De La Cruz should be somewhere in the All-Star game because he's so electrifying somehow, some way. And I know he's only been in the majors for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or whatever. But like you said, for the casual fan, like, this guy just stole second, third, and home plate the other game. Like, how? Well, not even with an error. Like, this was him just stealing and running bases. Yeah, like, it wasn't like an error, no nothing. Like, this is just actual skill. So I think, yes, MLB has to figure out how to get their electrifying guys on the big stage market. Ohtani, I know, the Angels, they struggle to get on there, and those were a lot of the electric players that are their own bad teams.
Yeah, when you're not winning games, that's what happened. If you're the Los Angeles Angels, when you're not winning games, it's like, damn me. It's like when you how you used to walk Barry Bonds every time because you don't want him to hit. That's how I feel like when you have Ohtani at the plate. Every time you have Ohtani at the plate, you just know he gonna hit it out for this first half. You just know he's gonna hit it out, no matter what you piss to him, how high you try to piss to him. It's just he gonna hit it out. You might well just walk him in the first half of the year, because 30 home runs. This man on a pace for about 60. This man on a pace for about 60 or 70 home runs already this year. So.
And gentlemen, this is an example of what MLB does. So we walk away from the home run derby feeling great about life. Then we're going to roll into the All-Star game, and Jay is right. Ellie's not going to be there. Why? Why is he not going to be there? Who is being upset if they add him to the All-Star game? Baseball purists, the people who feel like making the All-Star game let's be honest. Look at all the All-Star games, and the NFL is probably on the bottom of this list because that game's an absolute joke. Right? You getting there, you can have an official list, a stat that says I'm an X-time All-Star. I get it. We should recognize people who accomplish things during the season, and that should be on their resume. We know that a quarter, a third, whatever it is, don't actually play in the game. So if you're going to name people to an all-star game, that should be step one. That's fine. Give them the accolades. You're an X-time all-star, whatever. For the actual game, the people who A, want to play, and B, the fans want to see, put them in the game. Ellie, look what he's doing in Cincinnati. Not only is that team relevant, he has become the face of Major League Baseball in 3.5 weeks. If you just go Google MLB highlights, you're going to see at least 4 or 5 just from him. Ohtani's not going to be in the All-Star game. Judge isn't going to be in the All-Star game. You need stars in the All-Star game that people actually want to see. And this is a huge marketing gaffe by Major League Baseball. You had 2 weeks in, you should have known this might be a thing. Is there a way we can get him into the All-Star game? Last week, it became official. We got to get him into the All-Star game. Like, you had 2 weeks to figure this out. Go find the last person on the roster and be like, hey, is your hamstring tight? It looks pretty tight. Looks like you got to sit out. We're going to put Ellie in. I don't know who made it from the Reds. I don't know who their actual representative is, but maybe someone should have went to that guy and been like, hey, we just need you to bow out. You're still going to get the accolade for it, but this guy's got to get in there. Think of what he could have. He would have been at least 2 or 3 highlights in that game easily. And now we're all talking about how he's not in the game. So, and that's what's frustrating about baseball. It feels like every time they take a step forward, they take a step back sometime right around the corner. So,
I'm with you.
Hey, you know what's funny to me, though? I'm going to bring up another thing about this dude before we move on. He played against Washington. I don't know what day that was. It had to be last week.
Yeah, it was the other day. Yeah,
it was the other day. They were complaining about his bat. He struck out the first time. You know what he come right back up and do? Hit the ball about a mile. Hit the ball to the moon. To the moon the next play, and he flipped his bat and he looked at him and pointed like this. He just
pointed at the bat. I love it.
I love it, man. Love the excitement.
I love it.
This dude a beast, bro. He's gonna be a superstar in this league, bro.
Yeah, man. Crazy. MLB, man, y'all got to switch that up, man. Y'all got to find a way to get players like that into the All-Star game. Yeah, that's y'all job next year, man. Next year. Y'all missed it on this one next year. So do what y'all got to do, man.
Yeah, you gotta
alternate or something.
You got to put people like that. You got to put him. He's fun to watch. You got to put him out there a little bit more. But so we go to the next topic. Mo, I'm gonna start this one with you. If you can go back in time and change one draft trade or free agency in any sport, what would it be? What would it be, Mo? What would it be? Your mic.
This one's easy for me. I'm going to go back, have a conversation with Joe Dumars and go, look, that Milicic kid,
oh, man.
he put on a hell of a workout, Joe, but you don't want that. You don't want that. That Anthony kid, he's a monster. Get him. Draft him. I'm going back and drafting Carmelo. I'm putting Melo with both the Wallaces, with Billups, with Rip, with Tayshaun. He's not even starting. He's not going to start because Larry Brown doesn't really rock with young players like that, but he wouldn't have to start. Not that first year. If Carmelo Anthony is on that Pistons team, it changes both conferences. That's how big a move that would have been. And as good as a GM and a president Joe Dumars had been up until that point, it is one of the worst moves in the history of the NBA because it literally cost them probably at a minimum another championship. I could get greedy and say they would have won 3 or 4, but at a minimum, that team would have won at least 2 titles.
Yep. Gotcha.
That was one of my picks too. Yep, I'm glad you said that, Mo.
That was the hell of one. Britt, go ahead.
Yeah, mine is an interesting what if too. I'm going back to 2003, and I'm talking to Doc Rivers, and I'm telling him to let Tim Duncan's family on the plane.
Oh, you too!
And we are going to see what happens if Tim Duncan goes to Orlando and teams up with Tracy McGrady and Grant Hill in 2003. I think that would be a really fun what if, and it would be a really fun alternate timeline there to live down.
Oh man, that was sick. You know what? And then the next day, you know what? And then Greg, he said Tim Duncan straight up said he was gonna sign the contract. Just let me go back to San Antonio for this meet. Well, you just lost him at that point of time because they influenced him to come back to San Antonio. He's gonna promise you he's gonna sign the contract. You don't let him walk out the building. You don't let that man walk out the building. You make sure he signed that contract. But David Robinson then was able to steal him back. That was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy.
Terrible.
That was terrible.
Terrible.
Come on,
and you know what's crazy? What's crazy about that? Doc Rivers later on when he went to the Celtics, he told Tim Duncan that they didn't allow spouses or significant others to ride on the plane. He allowed KG, and he waived that rule after that situation in Orlando.
Doc learned a hard lesson.
I hated it. I was a huge McGrady fan. That was my guy.
Oh my God.
You would have, because let's assume Grant Hill's injuries would have been what they would have been. You still would have had T-Mac and Tim Duncan together. That would have been interesting. That would have been scary.
That would have been easily the Magic versus the Lakers in the finals right there at that point in time. The Lakers, that would have been crazy. Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
Well, since Mo and Brett took both of mine, I had one left in the chamber though. I had one left. Being a former Knicks fan, man, Steph Curry being drafted one spot to Golden State before the Knicks pick, man. I was truly hurt and disappointed. I felt everybody thought that Steph was coming to the Knicks. He was going to be an MSG. He's going to put on the show, and Golden State came and got him, and it changed history forever because we know what direction both franchise went in. So, that would be mine.
Chris?
I can't believe no one mentioned Chris Paul and the Lakers.
Oh, that's nice. I like that one.
Come on now, that right there would have changed the NBA landscape had that gone through. But my two, because I figured someone was going to mention that, my two are going to be NFL related. My first one is I'm a homer. It's going to be Miami Dolphins. When we all thought that Deion Jordan was going to be the greatest defensive player in the league, and we traded from 12 up to 3 to snag Mr. Deion Jordan, who played about 8 games in Miami before we cut him. Probably one of the biggest defensive draft busts in NFL history. And then my second one, for all you Raider fans out there, I guarantee all of you would easily give back Jamarcus Russell. What a waste of everything. The franchise, the entire 2007. Calvin Johnson went number 2 that year. You could have had Calvin Johnson at number. Now, granted, there was no quarterback in that draft class. I think John Beck came off the board in that draft class. Brady Quinn was in that draft class. Drew Stanton, Jordan Palmer, the Buffalo guy, Trent Edwards. There were no quarterbacks in that draft class. So it's not like they were going to get a better quarterback for their team. But Raiders, you could have had Calvin Johnson. You could have had Adrian Peterson, Marshawn Lynch, Darrelle Revis. They all went in the first round. You had your pick of the litter.
Calvin Johnson, Jesus Christ,
and you went with Mr. Russell.
Gotcha. So for me right here, I got 2 of them, and you know who 2 of the picks is? The Portland Trail Blazers. Imagine having Michael Jordan and Clyde Drexler on the same team in the 1980s through 90s. You know who the Portland Trail Blazers decided to go with? Sam Bowie. They needed a forward instead of taking the best player in the draft. They actually needed a forward instead of taking the best player in the draft. Don't let that need stuff fool you. You always, at the top of the draft, you take the best player that's right there, and that was Michael Jordan. You could have had Michael Jordan and Clyde Drexler on the same team. And Clyde Drexler, Portland was able to get to the 92 NBA Finals. They were able to get to some Western Conference Finals, but couldn't break through. They lost one of those finals to who? Michael Jordan, the person they did missed out on. And you go back in the 2000s. You know, y'all had a certain guy from Ohio State that was coming out of the draft. Again, you go for need instead of the best player, and who that best player was, Kevin Durant. You could have had a Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, and LaMarcus Aldridge, a young LaMarcus Aldridge right there. that could have been setting you up. And then I think I don't know if Brandon Roy was drafted after or before. Imagine that starting five right there. Imagine that starting five. And if Brandon Roy doesn't tear up his knee. Don't you know that starting five? That was a final starting five right there. So Portland messed up on two guys that they could have had, and they both was picked number 2. They both one of them was passed up on number 1. Sambu was the number 1 pick in the 1984 or something like that. He was the number 1 pick, but they decided to draft Sambu instead of Michael Jordan and Clyde Drexler being on the same team. Then Greg Oden was number 1, so they had the number 1 pick both of those times. They missed out on most of those players, but Portland. Feel bad for him, man, but everybody has some. Hey, go ahead, Jay.
And Dame want to have faith in that front office and be loyal to that organization.
Yep.
I was saying, I'm just imagining, like, if they had Kevin Durant in 2015, a starting lineup of a Dame, Wes Matthews, Nick Batum, Kevin Durant, and LaMarcus Aldridge. That would be a really killer starting five.
That would be nice, bro. And then not to mention, I think Brandon Roy was up out of the league at that time because he tore his knees up.
Yeah.
If he was healthy, he would be on that Portland Trailblazers team. And Brandon Roy was a killer. He was an all-star. He was an all-star multiple years. And man, everybody, that pick by Brett, that was crazy right there. That was crazy. Tim Duncan can't even get on the plane. That was crazy.
It's crazy. I just listened to that interview. He was talking about it. Grant Hill was talking about it too. He was like, even if I wasn't back to myself, I'd have been a third option, which would have been totally fine. And Tim and T-Mac would have just did their thing.
That would have changed the landscape of the East.
Yep, it would.
Easily.
Man,
what's good, Bird?
Doc Rivers strikes again.
All right, so we got Cat responding. He was asked 3 centers, what 3 centers work basically, and we all know his response. Do you agree or disagree? We're gonna start down at the bottom, Chris.
I think he got an old version of the script that said that this season all the NBA teams are just going to attack the rim. I think that's the script he got, and then he was like, "Well, wait a minute. If everyone's just going to attack the rim, let's just load up on centers. They won't be able to get through the wall." Because in what universe is he living in where the NBA game has shifted to perimeter shooting, where you think you're going to run anything with 3 bigs? Well, I don't know. Yeah, you might be able to score a little bit because no other team is going to have the bodies down on the inside to stop 3 of you. So you might be able to get some easy looks down there. They might not be the most athletic looks because that's going to run them out real quick. But who's guarding that perimeter? Because last time I checked, 3s beat 2s, and you're going to be lost in transition. Who's setting up your? I don't know. There's just so many more questions that come with his comments. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He just got an old version of the script, and he was really jazzed up about it. And it's just not going to go down that way.
Hey, Key, don't you put Cat up on no title no more. It's Mr. No Show. That's his nickname. Every time you put a topic about that man, you put Mr. No Show down. Don't put no Cat.
Right.
Whoever put a topic, or if you're going to talk about this dude, put Mr. No Show until he shows up in the playoffs. Put Mr. No Show. Don't put no Cat down. He doesn't deserve to be called Cat. But go ahead, Jay.
Man, I don't know what Zaza, Mr. No Show is smoking out there in Minnesota. I don't know what they got going on out there. I know Anthony Edwards got to be pissed because this did not work with 2 centers that y'all just got. So how is it going to work with 3 centers? Like, I know Cat wants to be a guard. I'm sorry, Mr. No Show wants to be a guard. I know he wants to have the ball in his hand. I guess what is he going to play, like the 3? Gobert's going to be like, who is putting this team together? Like, I get it. You got to be confident in your team. And when you get asked questions like that, you try to be the good guy and respond. He should have just swerved the question. He should have just been like, we'll see. We're going to see. But come on. He was like, watch us. Like, huh? We just watched our struggle with 2. y'all barely made the playoffs, got bounced in the first round. Like, come on, man, get out of here, bro. Stop talking to him, please.
Well, the funniest thing,
Talk to Ant, man.
the funniest thing, you know what? The very next morning show, Mo kind of know this. I think I spread it out the other day too. They tried to lose game three times in one. Ashley tried to lose, and I actually came on here and laughed the whole show because that was how bad they wasn't. But you know who played who act like they wanted to play? Damn. It was Anthony Edwards. He played like he wanted to play. He played like he had something to play. And thanks to people like Mr. No Show decide not to show up. It resulted into failure, like the Minnesota Timberwolves is. But I think Anthony Edwards is the franchise player to start building around that guy, and everything will be all right.
Get out, Ant. Get out.
But right now, he can't get up out that mud right now because he just got paid.
So he signed an extension. Yeah, I know. I don't know why. Just get out.
Yeah. I hope he would have do. I hope it would have been the best thing for him to do too. Because I hate to see players like that go down the line without winning something. He's going to be a solid player. But go ahead, Brett.
Oh, the number to remember in all this is $443 million, because that is what the Timberwolves are paying 3 centers in the year 2023 and beyond. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's going to be ugly. They might sneak into the playoffs just to get dog walked in the first round. Like, defensively, it doesn't make sense. Cat has to play the 4 because you can't play Gobert at the 4. But any shooter with any semblance of a pull-up jumper is going to exploit that. Any shooter with a mid-range jumper is going to exploit that. Or they can just blow by, get to the rim, draw Gobert in, and now the corner's wide open. So defensively, logistically, like we saw last year, it's just an absolute nightmare. And then offensively, like, Cat can play the 4, but even he shouldn't be. And Gobert just kind of clogs up the lane so Anthony Edwards can't get to the rim as often, which is one of his strengths. And it's not like Rudy Gobert's much help on offense. You're looking at a guy who has the worst hands in the game. He can hardly catch a simple pass half the time. So, yeah, I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt. They might sneak into the playoffs again, but they're getting trounced in the first round again, and that's their ceiling for me, honestly.
Yep. Look a comment. He already called him Mr. No Show. You love that nickname. Go ahead, Mo.
I just think that Mr. No Show, if I'm the T-Wolves PR department, I don't want No Show doing any more interviews. None. Don't speak to anybody about the sport you play in. You don't even know about the sport you play in. When you listen to Karl Anthony Towns talk, he's a basketball player that doesn't know basketball. I don't want to hear from that guy anymore. It doesn't make sense. You know how do you not know where your league is? If you don't have perimeter players, if you don't have talented perimeter players or shooters in this league, you don't win. You don't win. And it's great that he's actually a really good shooting big, but they play him and Gobert with a guy like Anthony Edwards, and they already have spacing issues just with those two guys. That guy actually thinks having another big on would make him that much better. So I don't want to hear from him no more because he literally doesn't know about his own profession, and that's sad.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You play against players every day. And you know what the league is. You have no clue.
Get another big man. That'll do it. That'll take us to the
top. Mo, I want to get your thoughts on the NBA is beginning more global and being dominated by Europe players. What's your thoughts on that?
So I think it's great that the league is becoming more global. It's bringing in fans from all over the world. It's also bringing in talent from all over the world. I think it's great for the league, great for us. Is it being dominated? Sure. 2 out of the last 3 champions, that was Giannis, and then you had Joker this past season. So that's a factual statement. I don't know if it's being dominated overall. Like, is Joker going to win 3 or 4 more titles? Is Giannis going to win another title? I don't know that. They're very skilled. But the truth is, Joker and Luka have similar skill sets. Giannis doesn't have a European skill set. He does a Euro move, but he doesn't have a European skill set. He actually has an American skill set. He doesn't play out on the perimeter. The strength of his game is actually attacking the rim or posting up. He doesn't really have a European game. He's more like what we do. I always think of Giannis as a center. I never thought of him as a forward. I think of him as a center. His skill set is that of a center. He's Shaquille O'Neal minus about 80 pounds. But that's what Giannis is. He's a center who has the ability to take you off the dribble in the open court or in ISO situations. So he's very unique. But the fact that you've got guys like Joker, the fact that you've got guys like Luka out there doing what they do, yeah, I don't think it's a problem for the league. If anything, it should make American players want to step their games up more and become more competitive. These guys are coming over and they're playing professional basketball at ages 14 and 15. They're playing against grown men at 14 and 15. What a lot of people don't realize is the European game is much more physical than the NBA. These guys get over here, and to them, it's a piece of cake. This is how you guys play. They love it. To me, I watch Luka and Joker play sometimes, and they look like they're moving at practice speed because the game is so much slower for them. They love this. This is nothing for them. So I don't think that it's bad for the league. I think it's more of a wake-up call that our players, they need to put more of the onus on skill, overall skill set, and not focus so much on athleticism and quickness.
Go ahead, Brett.
I agree. I think it's great for the league. Because at the end of the day, what do we want? We just want the best product available with the best players available wherever they come from. And I absolutely love to see it. Like, you can argue 3 of the top 5 players right now in the NBA are foreign: Jokic, Luka, Giannis.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love to see it. And plus, they're building their brand overseas. You're bringing in more worldwide attention. You're bringing in more money, more viewers. So overall, I think it's great. I think it's great for the sport. And I love watching these overseas guys come in and play because their skill set is completely different most of the time than what we see in America. It's just more fundamentally sound. And I'm all here for it.
Go ahead, Jay.
It's definitely good for the game. Whenever you can expand your brand, and you get good product back, that's always good. I agree with Mo. U.S. American players, it definitely should make you want to step your game up. Right now in the NBA, I know everybody's big on this, like the face of the NBA. We got Steph, KD, LeBron. They're all like on their way out the door. They're out of their prime, and so we're all looking for like this face of the of the league and things like that. And right now, it's one of the European players. For the most part, we just seen Joker win the championship. Was up for a 3rd MVP, Joel Embiid, also Mr. No Show. But I think that it should make American players want to ball, want to craft their game better and stick around and try to avoid these injuries, because that's the only thing. Like, I don't know if it's AAU basketball. I don't know what it's about. I don't know if it's their love and passion for the game or what it is. But it's just like, man, they can't stay on the floor. Although, like Anthony Edwards, I think he's going to be a superstar, but he plays in Minnesota. Like, he doesn't have the market. You know what I'm saying? Like, Zion can't stay on the floor. Ja got issues. All of the young stars who can be somewhat of the face of the NBA all have some type of personal issue or issue where they can't stay on the floor. But it's great for the game. It's great for fans. I do believe that they'll have another team out of the country sometime soon, so probably in Canada somewhere. I believe they're going to expand at that point in time. But I mean, it's good for the league. The media has to start putting pressure on them like they do American players as well. Like, I know they're going to be on Joel Embiid this year because he won the MVP and they got bounced. But they do duck a lot of the pressure that American players, they get flack for. So, but overall, it's cool. It's good. I like it.
I think one of the reasons they duck that pressure is because they just come and play the game. what do all these European and foreign players have in common? They don't get in trouble. They don't. I mean, Embiid has somewhat of a kind of flamboyant personality, but look at some of these guys and they're kind of boring. They come over here, they do their job, they dominate, they go home. And like Mo said, sometimes it looks like they're not trying. Sometimes it looks like they're going half speed, but that's the culture they're coming from. And you compare that to what we have in the US. And if you didn't see Steve Kerr's rant on AAU basketball, go YouTube it because he was spot on. The United States is not developing fundamentally sound basketball players. We're developing kids with a mixtape. We're every high school kid who wants to go to college and play D1 ball has a mixtape. Every high school kid who thinks they're good that probably can't even make a D1 squad that's going to go play D2 or D3 has a mixtape. That is our culture right now. Our culture is take the best of everything you do, even if it's only 6 shots, put it into a mixtape and flood it out there to show how awesome you are. We have all these athletic, offensively gifted players who can't get their own shot, who can't play defense, who only work in one kind of offense. And these are a lot of the kids that you have coming into the league. And it's not necessarily their fault because it's a product of the society that they're in. You're going to school, you're going to college for 1 year, all these upper echelon talented players. So you're not building your body in college. You're not getting the basketball experience in college. And that 1 year you're there, you're probably a rock star. So you're not even really having a true basketball grind experience because you're literally the big man on campus who gets whatever you want. So where is all of this being built? Where is all of that other work being put in? Oh, it's your first few years in the league. And that's why you see these guys, and it takes them 4 or 5 years to pop because they get in the league and now they're learning the fundamental side of it because they're realizing, oh, when I was head and shoulders the best kid in my AAU team, I didn't have to worry about that stuff. I didn't need to get my own shot. Like anything I wanted would go at the rim. I didn't need to work for that. Defense, what do I got to play defense for? We were blowing them out by 40. What's the point of me playing defense? Then you get to some of these college programs and you look at our upper echelon college programs. Yeah, you get some good matchups in there, but you also get half their season is blowouts. So they're not refining those skills there either. And if you don't get a coach on some of these players that's stressing the fundamentals, no one's pushing it until they get to the league and they're getting embarrassed in the G League or they're getting embarrassed in the summer league or they're getting embarrassed in the closed door practices. And now finally an NBA coach is like, get it together. What are you doing? And us fans are like, wow, look at all those flaws. Look at what's wrong with that person. They were never forced to do some of those things. And now they're being forced to do it with the greatest competition in the world, where, like Mo said, you have these guys coming over from Europe or from these other countries, 14, 13 in some cases. They're playing against grown men. They know the grind. They know that, they got to play defense because they're not going to be scoring a lot because those guys are all a foot taller than them. So there's nothing they're going to do on the offensive side yet. So they're working their defensive game. They're working their passing. They're working on all those fundamentals until, they become younger men at 15, 16, 17. And that's when they start refining their offensive set. And that's what you're seeing with our foreign players. And it's unfortunate because if the momentum continues, like right now you're seeing it with our superstars, right? You look at our 4 biggest young names in the league right now, they're all foreign players. What happens if we keep going down this road and then that next tier starts to become foreign players? Because that's the natural progression, right? You're getting these superstars from foreign countries. Now people are going to be like, well, wait a minute. He's not a superstar, but man, he's a good role player and he's fundamentally sound and he's going to play both sides of the ball. That's what I need right now. And if that's where the NBA starts going, now you're looking at the next tier of players pushing out more of the American players because they're better. And really, there needs to be a fundamental change on the AAU side into high school, into college.
Now, Chris, can I ask you this? Do you think a lot of this comes from, and I hate to blame it on any particular player, from the Steph Curry, James Harden, style of basketball, where it's just dribble. Because, I go to high school games. I watch my son plays high school ball. He plays AAU, and that's all you see. Everybody's trying to get the ball, step back, shoot. Everybody's trying to take logo, half court shots and stuff like that. And it's like, yo, you had somebody wide open underneath the basket, but everybody's trying to emulate what they see on TV, and that's where it is. Because I've seen coaches like bench players for doing stuff like that, but it's just like, if your star player is doing it and you bench the star player, then the coach gets fired, right? Because
it's hard because if you can hit the three, if you're a high school player and your range is literally unlimited on that high school floor, and you know that no one can guard you, and you're shooting, 55% from three, you're going to jack it up. And when your coach is like, no, hit the guy in the post, when you know that you have colleges scouting you, and you know there's scouts at the game, and you know that you're a high school royalty because you're the greatest thing in your high school, no, you're not going to listen to the 45-year-old basketball coach who also teaches math. Like, you got dad in your ear telling you you're the next greatest thing. You got uncles telling you you're the next greatest thing. Like, why is the part-time basketball coach, going to have that impact on you? He's most likely not. And, as much as Steph has changed, let me rephrase that. Steph has changed the game completely, but change isn't always good, right? So you're seeing all these kids that they're the highlight reel. They're literally walking highlight reels, but they can't do the team stuff. And that's what basketball is built on. And you watch the NBA finals and you watch the NBA playoffs, and that's when the analysts are talking about it. They're talking about the defensive effort, and they're talking about ball movement, and they're talking about, the third pass. And I know for a fact high school coaches preach that. I know for a fact that college coaches preach that. But you're fighting a system, like you said, Jay, where you can preach it, but when the media is telling you, oh, look at this kid from Alabama. Here's his highlight reel on ESPN. And he's seeing that, right? Like, you can listen to the coach all you want, but you're going to be a lottery pick. So the wall naturally comes right now in the NBA. And it's going to be a huge shift to get that wall to move down, because when you start moving down, what's it about? It's about money. The colleges want to make money. So the colleges want the 5-star players there. They want the eyes on their program. They want to get on ESPN. That's what they're looking for. When you go down to the high school level, what does that high school basketball coach want? He wants the scouts at his game, right? Because he's like, man, if they see how I coach up this senior, maybe I'll get a look somewhere for a college coaching job or something. So that's what they're looking at. Then you go down to the AAU level. That's all about money. As you know, if you got a kid playing AAU. So the wall doesn't really hit you until you get to the NBA, and you got a coach who's like, listen, I'm not losing my job over you. And which still happens, by the way. If you're that top 5% of NBA talent, the wall's even further out. But if you're just one of those, middle of the road NBA players, the coach isn't going to lose his job over you. So you're going to get your stuff together, because he's not going to be taking L's because of you. And if you have a star on that team, they're not taking L's because of you. So it's just a system that I feel it's broken, but there is no easy fix for it.
No, to piggyback too, what they do in AAU, and you probably already know this, Jay, these kids are not just coming up trying to be Steph and Dame shooting from 40 feet. They're also talking about branding themselves. They're already thinking about branding themselves. Like, never, they're already there on that level, talking about different ways they can brand themselves, build up their brands. Like, to tell them to go back to the fundamentals, very few of them are going to listen. Very few of them are going to buy into the notion of the fundamentals. Not if you can break somebody down off the dribble and shoot from 40 feet without breaking form. Very few people are going to go back to that. The NBA has become threes or get to the basket and get a dunk. There is no in-between game. There is very few second or third passes, like Chris pointed out. And the European guys come over here, and they already have all those skills. They already have all those fundamentals. And so Chris made a great point in saying, if this keeps going, the NBA is going to start looking a lot more and more like the EuroLeague. They're going to be pushing out some of these highlight reel kids because they're going to go for the more fundamentally sound players. It is to me, it's a major problem. And I don't know what the fix is, but I think it's scary because AAU and the NBA and then even the colleges, they don't recognize the problem.
I think the problem is, I think, me personally, more players should go to the G League. I think the G League needs to be more, it needs to be highlighted a lot more because, like you guys said, when they're young and they're overseas, they play with grown men. So you take the G League is similar, right? They're over there, they're the NBA structure. You're still getting paid, you're still getting some bread, and you're going up against grown men at a young age. So I think the college structure is good to a degree, but I think the G League should be highlighted a lot more, and it should be an option for a lot more young players that are trying to get to the league, because I believe that gets them more grounded, more structure, and it gives them those fundamentals that they're lacking. And then they still have a good chance to go to the league, as we've just seen with Scoot Henderson. I mean, this last draft just had a ton of young men that just came from the G League to got top first round picks. So I think the G League definitely should be pushed more, and that way that talent gap can kind of you can kind of bridge that gap with the G League.
And it's kind of funny too with this entire thing, because the young kids want to copy Steph and shoot these 35, 40 footers. But the big thing that makes Steph successful too is his unselfishness. He's willing to pass the ball, relocate. He's always moving. I think he moves around more than anybody I've ever seen on offense. And he lets other people get their shots. Like, it's the unselfishness and teamwork and off-ball movement is really what makes Steph one of the greatest offensive weapons we've ever seen. Yeah, 35, 40 foot. Yeah, he can stretch the floor. He can kind of break the defense doing that. But more often than not, it's his relocating off the ball and overall his unselfishness. So I think if they watch Steph more actually and like analyzed every part of his game, I think it would be good for the league. But unfortunately, they just want to take the part where he pulls up from 35 feet, which even Steph isn't always doing consistently.
Nah, they don't want to.
The league is doing that though. Maybe the league is at fault for that, right? Or ESPN. Like, what do you see at night? What are the highlights? It's not Draymond Green setting a back pick to free Clay up or for a jump shot, or Steph coming off a pin down. It's Steph Curry crossing somebody up and then launching from 35 feet. It's Damian Lillard coming down court and launching from the hash mark from 40 feet away. Nobody is going to really see a highlight reel of a team running the Princeton offense.
They're just the crazy part, because the 6 seconds before Steph was wide open in the corner, what did he do? He ran the floor. He ran through the offense. He got himself open to get his shot, and that's what we don't talk about. And as far as fixing the system goes, and this will never happen, but one of the easiest fixes would just be making him stay in school longer. Now, there's so many reasons why that wouldn't happen, but if you make a guy stay in school for at least 2 years, that first year, you're going to see a better work ethic from them, because they know they're not going to the league next year. They know that they got one more year in school to go. So what does that mean? They got to have the grades. They got to have the work ethic to stay on the team. They got to make sure they're still starting, because if they just slack off and don't give a damn that first year, they may not be in the best position year 2 before they go to the NBA. So just forcing them to stay in the league in college 1 extra year, you're going to get a more developed and well-rounded student athlete coming out of school. Not to mention the benefit of just having an education. But you bring up, extending the college requirement for any sport, and it's just a bunch of, you're holding the kids back. Now we're going to pay them in school. So now if we're paying them in school, if they're making money while they're in school, why not make them stay longer? I mean, the argument before was
they got NIL, right?
Let them make money. We're stealing money from them by not letting them get to the league sooner. Well, now they're making money in school, and some of them are making 5-6 figures in school. So make them stay longer if it's going to benefit.
Isn't Bronny making like $5 million?
Yeah.
He's making $5 million. The young man hadn't really done actually anything yet. He's making $5 million. And this no slight on him, but Chris brought up a great point. They're making bread now, so you don't have to feel the pressure having to go to the league. I'm with Chris. Stay in school that extra year. The educational part will help you down the road if you don't end up being a pro, but it'll also help you mature. I think that's very important. Never mind their
That's
skill.
true.
A lot of these guys, they don't know how to interact with other people. They're very young and very raw, and you put them on this platform, and a lot of them are not ready for that.
Well, and you know, a lot of people they don't. When San Antonio Spurs, when they had the twin towers and when they were winning, everybody hated San Antonio being in the finals because they claimed that style of basketball was boring, right? And now everybody's complaining that it's too much shooting, it's too much dribble, isolation ball, this, that, and the other. So I'm like, y'all, I think we got to kind of scale it back. That's a great option for players to be able to, stay in school for an extra year, or they can go to the G League. Either way it goes, they're still making money and they're still getting the fundamentals of basketball that they lack and that they need to be efficient in the NBA. So I'm with you. I agree with both of y'all. Y'all made solid points. Everybody.
We're losing the battle to your European players right now. The
Yep.
European talent, the best European players, they're much more skilled all the way around as basketball players than the American players are. We're just way behind in that battle. We need to start gearing up.
And if you look, and I know a lot of people may not watch the WNBA, but if you watch the WNBA, even some of they have the fundamentals of basketball. And I think for the WNBA, I think they cannot come out until like year 3, I believe. They have to stay in.
They gotta stay 4 years.
Yeah, they have to stay in school for 3 years. So and you look at their product, it's a very good product. So I mean,
can we all agree that the WNBA is more fundamentally sound than the NBA? It's not even close.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
I agree.
But that is tragic though, man. They gotta stay in the league. They gotta stay in college all 4 of their years. I think that's crazy. That's crazy. You have people dominating. You have girls like Angel. You will have people like Angel Reese dominating college for 4 straight years. Two more straight years. You have Caitlin Clark, who's going to break another record in shooting threes. They can't even come out to after the 4 years. So again, it's very tragic. So I know this is not a topic, but this is something new that just broke out. Something new that just broke out. Just want to get Mo and Jay thoughts, because I don't know if Chris or Brett big boxing fans, but this is something that just came up. You got Tyson Fury going up against Francis Ngannou. Y'all know the MMA boxer, the MMA fighter. That's set up on October 29th. Tyson Fury will be going up against Francis Ngannou. Tyson Fury is a heavyweight champion of the world. I think who got the other title? I think Alexander Usyk got the other champion.
Yeah,
I think by beating Anthony Joshua twice. So Mo, give me your thoughts up on that one right quick.
it's an interesting matchup, but to simplify it, if Fury comes into the ring in shape, he's going to win the match. He's going to. It's not going to be a good match. If Fury comes in shape, he's going to box Ngannou's head off. It's not. He can just keep him at bay with that jab. And look, what we know about Fury is the guy's got a steel chin.
Mm-hmm.
You can clip him, send him to the floor, and he's going to rise back up like the Undertaker. So I think I'll give Ngannou a puncher's chance. But if they meet and Fury's in shape, I expect total domination by Tyson Fury.
Jay.
Facts. Hey, Mo said it well, man. There ain't really much for me to add on, man. I think Fury gets it, and I'm gonna just leave it like that, man. Mo had a solid take.
Chris, you want to touch on it?
I've watched one boxing match my entire life.
Got you.
I will skip this one.
I got you. So this is the last one before we move on to every other thing. And you talking about him getting up. Who would thought he would get up from Deontay Wilder the way he got knocked out? We already know that dude power. That dude power put you just once he hit you, he put you just you going to the hospital. You just going to bed early. So everybody's surprised that he got up from that one. So this is the last one before we get to the other topics. But Shakur Stevenson did offer undisputed champion Devin Haney a 75-25 split. Mo, your quick thoughts on it? And Devin Haney turned the money down.
So 75 for Haney?
75-25 split. Yes.
Yeah, I don't understand why you would turn that down unless you just don't want that fight. And if you don't want that fight, you must know Shakur Stevenson's not the guy for you. Maybe it's just that simple. That's not a good matchup for you. If you're gonna turn down a 75-25 split, something ain't right.
Yep. Jay?
Wait, 75 for Haney?
Think 75 for Haney, 75-25,
Right.
and it was ejected by Shakur Stevenson, and because Haney basically said he's not Shakur Stevenson, not the 8 side. Basically, Devin Haney is the bigger name, and he's the undisputed.
Right. He's the champ. Yeah.
He's the undisputed champion coming in.
They gotta figure it out, man. They gotta figure the money side out because that fight has to happen. So whatever
And
they do
now.
Yeah, it's got to happen now.
10 years older, right?
Yeah, it's got to happen right now because that's a blockbuster fight right there. We got to have it. So, fellas, whatever y'all got to do, y'all have been boys, been friends, coming up the rankings, man. So, hey, get it done, and we look forward to probably seeing it sometime next year or something like that. I don't think it'll get done before this year, but man, y'all got to get this done ASAP, man. We need that.
Definitely. So, here we go, Chris. Which corner would you take, Diggs or Darius Slay?
I'm gonna ride Diggs. I mean, I think Slay. I mean, I don't. Slay's a good corner. I'm not saying he's not. But if you look at this past season, I would argue that Slay wasn't even the best corner on his team. So whether he was slowed by injury a little bit or whatever it was, but I'm going Diggs.
Jay?
I'm going Slay. I realized Chris brought up a point where he wasn't probably his best version of himself this year, but I still think I think he slightly has a better coverage than Diggs. But I'm going with Slay.
Brett?
Oh man, I might be a little biased just because I had to watch him kind of torture us in the division there for years, but I'm gonna go with Darius Slay. He was always one of my favorite watching him on the Lions. You saw how good he is. His coverage is tight. He's locked down. Might not have been his best version this past year, but I still think he's an all-pro caliber corner. No slight on Diggs. He's phenomenal. But I feel like he takes a lot more risk. He comes up with a lot more big plays, but he takes a lot of risky chances and also gives up a lot more big plays. So I'll take Slay over Diggs.
Go ahead, Mo. Who you got?
I'll take Diggs. I think Diggs is much improved from his first season. Maybe people get caught up in the wow factor because he can be a more spectacular player. But if you look at his last season, I thought he was just a lot more steady. He wasn't giving up the big plays. He didn't have as many interceptions, but he's learning how to defend and deflect. And he's at the stage now. It's kind of crazy, as young as he is, that he's there. He is baiting quarterbacks into throwing passes they shouldn't throw. He's already got a veteran mindset now, and he's not even at the best version of himself right now. So I'm going to take Diggs because I think he's as good as Slay now and going to be better.
Got you. So, Chris, 6 teams who won't make it back to the playoffs. Who you think, in your opinion, will not make it back to the NFL playoffs?
So the crazy thing about the NFL is that every year there's on average 6 teams that don't return to the playoffs. And they went back like 30 years, I think. And they looked at each year over year, and the low was 4. So every single year it's been at least 4. And then there was a few times in there where it was 7, and it got even as high as 8. So we're going to go with 6 because that's kind of the average. If you're looking at the teams that made the playoffs last year, you have Cincinnati, Baltimore, Miami, Buffalo, Chargers, Jags, Chiefs, and Bengals and Chiefs. Okay, that was 7. So of those 7 in the AFC, I think the Chiefs are going to be there. I think the Bengals are going to be there. The Dolphins are going to be there. I think Jacksonville is going to win their division. I'm going to say the Chargers are going to miss in the AFC. And I think the Ravens are going to miss in the AFC. Although you could easily convince me of Buffalo over Baltimore because I think Buffalo is falling off a cliff. and I will gladly help push them down said cliff if they need any more momentum to get there. But I don't think they're off the cliff yet. I still think that, again, if everyone stays healthy, I think that Josh Allen is a top 5 quarterback in the league, even though he is a roller coaster ride. And I think that their talent on the defensive side of the ball and in the trenches is a little bit better than what Baltimore is rolling with. So I guess I would keep Buffalo in over Baltimore, but I can be persuaded. The NFC, on the other hand, last year, Dallas, Tampa, Seattle, the Niners, the Giants, the Vikings, and the Eagles. I see the Eagles returning. I don't see Tampa coming back. San Francisco should be there. I don't see Seattle coming back. I don't see the Giants coming back, and I don't see the Vikings coming back. I think the NFC is going to be a completely different playoff look. So for me, and we can discuss it a little more once everyone kind of drops their teams, but my 6 teams are Tampa, Seattle, the New York Giants, the Minnesota Vikings, the Baltimore Ravens, and the LA Chargers.
Go ahead, Jay.
All right, so I'm gonna start on the I'll start on the AFC side. I do believe Kansas City will come back. Obviously, Buffalo, they got the Madden curse. I don't care. I still believe in the Madden curse. Josh Allen is on the cover, but somehow, some way, I still believe they'll sneak in. Cincy, I think they'll be there. I don't think Jacksonville will be there. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Titans fan, but I don't think they'll be there. I don't think the Chargers, although they got Kellen Moore, which I think will be a huge addition to their offense, but for some reason I don't see them being there. Baltimore, Miami, I see those 2 still being there. Like Chris said, the NFC side is where things, get shaken up a little bit more. Philly, San Francisco, both to be there. Minnesota, Tampa Bay, and the Giants, I don't have in the NFC returning. So
Brett?
that's my list.
Brett?
So if there's 2 teams I think could miss out of the AFC, I do agree. I think the Chargers could very easily miss. And the other team, there's one more team I'm unsure of. I think the Dolphins could possibly miss, but it's not a slight on them.
Chris doesn't want to hear that.
It's more the fact is, can I trust Tua to stay healthy long enough for them to sneak in? Because he has starting to deal with the concussions and the injuries. If he stays healthy, yeah, they're in. But I'm not sure.
Do you realize that like half of Baltimore's roster is injured?
Oh, absolutely. Unless I can see them missing 2.
Just asking.
No, yeah, absolutely. But I think they'll still sneak in. I think they'll still be good enough to make it. I'm guessing you're a Dolphins fan?
Yep.
Okay, I got you.
I'm a fan of logic.
Fair enough. No, I can see Baltimore missing it too. To me, both of those really comes down to, can the quarterback stay healthy long enough for them to get there? Because I could see them both easily making it, but both teams have quarterbacks with an injury history at this point, so both those teams are question marks for me just because of that. And then when we're looking at the NFC, I don't think the Giants make it back. I want to like them, I really do, but I still don't trust the offense enough for them to be able to come back. I don't think Saquon can be their 3rd best receiver again this year. I think he was 3rd in yardage and receiving and number 1 in rushing. I don't think that can happen again. Minnesota, it'll be interesting. I think they can make it just because the NFC North is so wide open this year. But at the same time, I don't believe 100% in their defense quite yet. And especially seeing how it fell apart so badly in the playoffs last year. So I think they can miss it as well. Tampa Bay's definitely not making it back. That's for sure. So those, I don't have a 16, but those are my 5 that I could see missing it.
All right, Mo.
So I think we're like-minded, most of us, on this. I'm going with Tampa, Seattle, Minnesota, the Giants. I just don't see it, especially with the Giants. They won so many close games. They really got by on coaching, defense, and special teams. That quarterback play, You're not going to win. Look, you're not going. Freddie doesn't want to hear it, but this is a fact. Your quarterback is not a very good quarterback. He's a good football player, but he's not a good quarterback. And you're not going to win very many football games if your quarterback in a 17-game season only gives you 15 touchdowns. That's not going to work. That could work in college if you ran the wishbone. You could probably get away with it then. But in the NFL, that's not going to work. So I have the same 4 teams not making it. And then in the AFC, I'm going to go with the Chargers. And Chris put it out there, but he wasn't sure. But I'll do it. I'm going to say the Bills aren't going to make it.
Okay. All right. So obviously in the NFC, I think I don't think you see 3 teams from the NFC East go to the playoffs again. I don't think you see that. But again, if I had to pick out of the Cowboys and Giants, I would trust the Cowboys to go to a wild card more than I trust the Giants this coming season. The Minnesota Vikings was the most fraudulent team in my eyes last year. They won so many close games, and they also had so many games that they should have got beaten. They should have gotten beaten, especially that game when they were down 33-0. That was a nightmare for Coach Jeff Saturday right there. Seattle, I think Tom Brady's not going to make it. I think you're going to win. They have to win the AFC South, the NFC South to make the playoffs. You're going to have to win that division. Because I obviously think 2 teams. If I had to pick out of the Lions in Minnesota, I do got Minnesota winning the division, but it says 6 teams that may not make the playoffs. So I will pick Minnesota. I think the Lions did get better, but I do got Minnesota winning that division, obviously. But I think with the same team, Minnesota has the same team, but they also are fraudulent. They also are fraudulent as well. So don't be surprised if they get off to a hot start. They got the same team. They got a cornerback in Byron Murphy. They got Jordan Addison, who they replaced for Adam Thielen. So it's pretty much the same team. They just added 2 different aspects on that defense and offense, and they changed the running back, which is younger Alexander Madison. And from the AFC, it's hard for me to pick the AFC. I still think the Chargers going to make it. They're going to get a wild card spot. I think Miami is going to make a wild card. I actually think Miami is going to make a wild card. I'm going to have to go Baltimore. So I see more. I'm going to have to go Baltimore. I'm going to have to leave Baltimore out. But they are a wild card team. That's if I had to choose, though. If I had to choose, So we do got 3 start, bench, and cut topics before we get into the last segment. So start, bench, and cut. I'm going to start this with you. Halliburton, Murray, or Fox?
They're all different players.
Yeah.
They're all different players. And the third guy is DeJounte Murray.
Yeah.
Man. I'm not cut. I'm keeping De'Aaron Fox. Let me start there. So I got De'Aaron Fox. Man, I hate to say this. I'm gonna bitch Halliburton and cut Murray. I can't believe I'm saying that.
That was a difficult decision for Mo right now. Go ahead, Brett.
I'm gonna take a slightly different approach to this one. I'm definitely keeping Fox too, but I want to keep the best defensive guard out of the 3 to give me kind of a change of pace. So I'm going to bench DeJounte and I'm going to cut Halliburton.
Gotcha. Jay?
I'm going starting Fox, benching Halliburton, and cutting DeJounte.
All right, Chris?
I agree with Jay.
Gotcha. All right, so we got another one. Start, cut, or bench Jalen Brunson, Latrell Sprewell, Bernard King. Chris.
Latrell Sprewell?
Yeah.
Who's coming up with this?
That's for the Knicks. That's the Knicks side.
Oh, I got you.
That's the Knicks side. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I got a soft spot in my heart for Latrell Sprewell. It's hard to explain, and I don't really want to sit on the couch and get into that right now. So I'm gonna start Latrell. I'm gonna bench Brunson, and who was my third option? Well, they're getting cut, so they don't matter.
You said Bernard Robinson, right?
Bernard King.
I mean Bernard King. I'm tripping. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm starting Bernard King. I'm benching Spreewell, and I'm cutting Brunson, man.
I don't know, man. I feel like I might have to cut Spreewell because I might offer him a $22 million contract and he'll turn it down because he can't feed his family.
Not enough for my family, man.
Hey, you better watch what you say, Brett. He might choke you out, huh?
Yeah. Ask Carlissimo.
Yep.
I'm definitely starting Bernard King easily. This one gets a little tougher because of how good Latrell Sprewell was when he did, play. So I think I still might. I'll bench Sprewell, cut Brunson. I did like Sprewell when he played. It's just unfortunate that the off the court issues kind of dominated his career towards the end.
All right, go ahead, Mo. We better watch it, man. Sprewell might put them palms on somebody.
Brunson's actually one of my favorite players in today's NBA. I just think he's so underrated. He's actually one of my favorite players. But for this topic, I can't not have Bernard King on. He's a Knicks legend, and Sprewell, just his short time in New York, he became a Knicks legend. But people don't sleep. Spree was a beast when he was with Golden State. He was a beast when he went to the Minnesota. Like Sprewell's just one of my favorite players. So I'm gonna start Spree, bench Bernard King, and have to cut Jalen Brunson.
Got you. All right, so we got the Philadelphia Eagles side. We got the receivers. Mo, this gonna start with you. Start, bench, or cut. Deshaun Jackson, Terrell Owens, AJ Brown. Which one would you?
This is easy. I'm starting T.O. I'm benching Deshaun Jackson and cutting AJ Brown. Like I got the best of both worlds. Both my receivers can take the top off the defense. Plus T.O. runs like a running back after he catches the ball. So I'll take that duo.
Right.
I'm in the same boat as Mo. I'm gonna start T.O. and Deshaun Jackson is one of my more favorite receivers to watch of all time just because of his ability to take the top off defenses. He's always electric. So, yeah, give me D-Jax and I'll cut Brown.
Start T.O., bench AJ, cut Deshaun.
Gotcha. Chris?
I don't want to be the same as everyone else, but I just love me some T.O. Like, if I get prime T.O., he is my guy every time. And the only reason I hesitate is because of the special teams wrinkle that Deshaun Jackson brings to the table. Because at any minute he can flip the field and momentum, but he ain't T.O. So I'm starting T.O. Jackson's on the bench, and have this conversation in 10 years, and maybe I bench Brown, but for now he's cut.
Gotcha. So. Man, like I don't care. I'm even starting a broke leg, T.O. Y'all remember the last time he played in the Super Bowl with a broken leg? He was cooking, y'all. I don't care. I'm starting a broken leg, T.O. And I'm gonna bench AJ Brown. I love his versatility. He, like I say again, when he like Jay know all about AJ Brown. If that's one dude that I'm glad that got up out of my division, is AJ Brown. I'm like, thank goodness gracious, because that dude used to pour it up on us every single time we play. He used to pour it up on us, but I still got to deal with Derrick Henry, but AJ Brown is gone, so that's fine with that. AJ Brown is gone. I'm happy.
Please don't remind me.
They didn't want to pay AJ Brown the money. They didn't want to pay his money. That's crazy.
Listen. No one was going to throw AJ Brown the ball in Tennessee anyways. So
wait a minute. See, that's not what we're going to do here, man.
Hey, Jay, your quarterback does do one thing really well. He hands the ball off to Derrick Henry.
DeAndre Hopkins, it's your boy Jay again. Come on down to Nashville, man. We got the powder blue hats, throwback uniforms, man. Come on down. We got that barbecue, man. Hey, don't listen to these guys. Ryan Tannehill made AJ Brown, got AJ to be valuable. They connect AJ had 1,000-yard seasons while he was there. Don't listen to these people telling y'all that Tannehill ain't that guy, man.
If you go there, D-Hop, you can get a lot of medicine balls. You don't want to do it.
Take
3 years off your career.
Yeah.
Nope. Don't listen to him, D-Hop. Don't listen. Hey, man. Listen, I'm your guy. Twitter, Threads, holler at me.
All right, so this is the last segment. Since Mo don't got his list about Shane Mosley. So how about I got you, Mo. I got a boxer in mind that I think everybody should know about. But Jay, go ahead and go with yours.
No. You go ahead because I don't have one right now.
All right, so I'm going to go with the 2-time lightweight champion. If y'all don't know this guy, this man was Ronald Winky Wright. Ronald Winky Wright is a 2-time lightweight champion, man. This guy was really good, man. Really good boxer. Great with the jab. If he has to stand in out and brawl with you, he definitely would do that. He also got some big time wins. He was 51-6. Most of the losses was at the tail end of his career, of Ronald Winky Wright's career. So his notable losses, that's at the end of his career. Like I said, he was a part of his prime at that time. He lost the unanimous, but he doesn't really get knocked out that often. But he hangs in there. He goes throughout every round. It's going to be tough. But this was at the tail end of his career. He did lose to Peter Quillen on the unanimous decision, who Peter Quillen was an upcoming boxer at that time. Paul Williams, who got put to sleep by Sergio Martinez. Paul Williams, I remember Paul Williams, who was a really good boxer, tall, had a jab. He didn't have a lot of power. He beat him in 12 rounds. That's the Paul Punisher Williams. Bernard Hopkins lost by unanimous decision. He lost to Bernard. Bernard was out of his prime too, but Bernard became the oldest to become a world champion as well. Mo, you remember that, right? So it's a good win for him. A good win for Winky Wright. Ike Corte. You remember Ike Corte?
Ike Corte was a great.
Yeah, he was good. You remember those matches that he had against De La Hoya?
Yeah.
He gave De La Hoya some work. Ike
made him better.
Yes, made him better. Jermaine Taylor was a champion. I thought actually Ronald Winky Wright got robbed in that fight, because if you looked at Taylor's face and you looked at that swollen puddle, Taylor got hit a lot. He was a guy that took a lot of chances. He got hit a lot. I thought Winky Wright got squirreled. I thought he won that fight up on that one. And I'm gonna go to Felix Trinidad. You remember Felix Trinidad?
Yeah.
Man. Felix Trinidad was younger. He was younger. He had the hair. This was before he got beat by Bernard Hopkins, but he did get beat. This was the fight that he lost to before going into Bernard Hopkins. You talking about a domination. Ronald Winky Wright put it up on Felix Tito Trinidad. He outboxed him. It got to the point Felix Trinidad got so embarrassed. He asked him for a rematch. And you know what Winky Wright said? No, I'm not giving you no rematch because you got dominated. And I wouldn't do it either. I wouldn't do it either. He was punishing him. He had his nose bloody, and he was jabbing him to death. He was hitting him with those jabs to death. And just Felix Trinidad had no answer with it. But if you know Felix Tito Trinidad, I know you would pretty much know more about him. Have him on the segment. You'll know more about him. That guy was a bad boxer. That was a guy that came back and beat Oscar De La Hoya. Mo talked about that on Oscar De La Hoya. After Oscar De La Hoya got hit with one of those shots, he started going into retreat mode after the fight, started running, and that's what allowed Trinidad to get confidence up. Then he beat this guy 2 times. The one that Mo gonna talk about, probably
he beat Shane Mosley twice.
He beat Shane Mosley twice. That wasn't an easy fight. He beat Shane Mosley twice. So Ronald Winky Wright and Fernando Vargas. Fernando Vargas was a tough fighter. That's a good win as well. So Ronald Winky Wright is one of the most respectable guys in our boxing game, man. He had a stiff jab, man. Good, dominant with the jab. He wasn't a guy that was going to give you a lot of power, but he was a guy that jabbed you to death, set the tone, keep you in the middle of that ring, and box you to death. And he was a guy that was going to put a lot of bumps, knots, and bruises around your eyes and stuff. And like I say, most of his losses came at the tail end of his career, where he probably shouldn't have actually been boxing at that time, but he did get in there with the best of them. He does have a great resume. And just want to give Ronald Winky Wright some definitely respect. So Mo, if you want to talk about Ronald Winky Wright, get it off at this moment.
Look, I'll just piggyback off what you said, Coach. He's also a great counterpuncher. Counterpuncher. He's one of those guys that can mix up his speeds. He could go from conventional to southpaw. Just a total ring general. His skill, the ability to box, hit, get out. Rinky Wright is underrated. If you've ever seen Buddy McGirt, I would say that Winky Wright was like Buddy McGirt on steroids. He was a quicker, faster, better version of Buddy McGirt. That's how talented he was as a boxer.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Jay.
Nah, I was gonna say, man, I said everything. Y'all said hit the nail on the coffin, man. I haven't heard Winky Wright's name in so long, man, and just to hear his name and just to kind of go over what he accomplished, man. I'm glad you brought him up and spotlighted him because he was definitely a hell of a boxer, man, and he definitely doesn't get the credit that he deserves.
Definitely. So Mo will break down Sugar Shane Mosley for you guys tomorrow.
Yes,
another hell of a boxer, respectable boxer. Remember the punch that he put on Floyd Mayweather? You thought Floyd Mayweather, that was probably the hardest punch he took of his whole career, pretty much right there, and it didn't move him at all. Next round, we already know what happened. Mo will tell you about that later tomorrow. So it's a good morning show, fellas, man. So shout out to everybody that came in the chat, the whole Empire Sports Network family. Mo, tell the people where they can follow you at.
Find me right here in the Empire Sports Empire Network. I will see you guys tomorrow on Coffee and Sports in the morning.
Got you. Jay, tell them people they can get you
at. Jay Jones on all 4 social media platforms. 613 Faith Productions, D Man Cave Sports Podcast. Follow us on Apple, Spotify as well. IOW Sports, Man Down Sports, and of course here on the Coffee Sports Morning Show. Empire Network. Appreciate y'all for having me coming through.
Oh yeah.
Got you. Brett.
Yeah, you can find me right here on the Coffee and Sports Morning Show. You can also find me on Line in the Sand later tonight on every Tuesday. Our wrestling show. You can just find me all over Sports Empire Network.
What time is that, Brett? The Line in the Sand.
8:30.
Okay.
Hey, man. Y'all need to get Doug up on. Y'all need to get Doug up on that, man, with that crown. With that crown on that. So good morning show to everybody. As for your host, Coach Dante, your boy Bo, your boy Jay Jones, your boy Brett. We'll see you guys more in the morning show tomorrow morning. Thank you guys.
Peace, everybody.
Peace, everybody.